Hi, it's me, it's Butt Punch Bova, and now I'm down here, and you can call me Jake, or you can call me whatever you want. I'm just so happy that you're here today, because on this speed build, we are taking a look at a very underrated animal in Planet Zoo, I so think, right? It's the Spotted Hyena. Now, the Spotted Hyena came with the base pack, and I understand that some people in the community think that the base pack animals have a little bit of growing pains on them, right? Right. So that the textures on them, the animations on them, everything seems a little bit dated. However, I think you should take a second look at the Spotted Hyena because it is a seriously underrated animal. It is so unique. It has its own unique model, its own unique rig. And can I be honest with you, the noises that these things make are fantastic. A must-have as you're flying over your zoo and you're hearing them yipping and howling and cackling. Well, I am going to go ahead and build a hyena enclosure to kind of help with the interior African grasslands, savanna adventure, whatever we're going to call it. I'm not entirely sure yet what we're calling this section of the zoo, this section of our Franklin County Metropark Zoo. Now, just like the building across the street from it and the bat house that we looked at in a previous video, this animal is going to have a guest viewing area that is stylized by one of the buildings across the street from Seattle's public market. Now, Seattle's public market is one of the building designs that we are using for our reptile house, and the reptile house across the street from it is definitely getting a rehaul. We're going to be looking at that in a different video, or we're going to tackle it in a live stream. I'm not going to be able to make a speed build video because it's so big, but the building across the street from the public market in Seattle is actually a big brick building with many other little shops on it. So I think it'd be really cool if we had this area be kind of a downtown shopping exhibit area with animals inside all of the shops that you can come in and look at, whether that be your tank habitats or your tank exhibits, and your tank habitats. Which, believe me, the tank exhibits, if they're not a walkthrough exhibit, they need to take a second look at those. Hey, Frontier, I know you guys like watching my videos, but I think that one needs a second look at. Can we get an update on those? Anyways, so we're building the guest viewing hall, and we're doing this into two sections because I'd like to have it curve around the hyena enclosure, right? So it's kind of a big hall shape with brick on top and this kind of off green at the bottom there. I kind of wanted it to match the same feel as the buildings around it. And as we see, we're putting one down here. We're copying that. We're placing that right across the way, but so much so that the blueprints and the grids for each one can help build a pathway between them. And I understand the paths are very cumbersome, but if you can get it just right, like I'm trying to right here, you can get those two to connect. Now, I wanted them to actually have a piece in the middle, so there was two separate buildings, but in the end of the day, I combined them together to be one large building. I thought that was the best way to go about this. And in fact, we could probably throw in some, what would you call them? We would call them, vending machines. Is vending machines the word I'm looking for? Vending machines can definitely go into the corners there, so can educational pieces as well as screens in there. But we're just combining them two together. We're using our friend the plaster piece to help join those two buildings together into one. And if you're not using plaster pieces in your builds, you got to take a look at these. They're honestly, they're a very useful tool. They're super versatile, and they can kind of blend in with most builds you're working on. And like you see here, I'm working on the centerpiece at the moment there. The centerpiece is where the staff facilities will be, and then this will be very much locked off to the public. All right, so the staff are the ones going back there, but they needed to have an indoor environment, and the indoor environment is somewhat connected to the keeper's hut. And just like that, we're molding them into two separate building groups. Now remember, people, when you're working on your builds, make sure you pay a lot of attention to your building groups. Now, your building groups are super important to making sure that when you place your build, you're able to work with it, you're able to copy it, you're able to quickly edit colors as you work. for me, I like to put all of my buildings into two separate groups, at least two separate groups, right? One for the walls and the interiors and the structures, and a separate piece altogether for the roof. Because if I needed to go in there and do some quick work, all I want to do is be able to lift the roof up and be able to get inside of it. Now I'm working on the different terrain pieces for the hyenas. I wanted to be kind of a dried out bed area, and I got 3 hyenas in here, 1 female and 2 males, because females are the dominant sex in hyena culture, right? So that hyenas are categorized as matriarchal societies, where the females are quite larger than the males. And in fact, I'm not going to talk about it here in this video, but if you really wanted to be enlightened with some weird material, I would take a look at hyena mating rituals and how that happens, because it doesn't make sense. Because it's horrifying. It's horrifying, absolutely horrifying. So as you see here, I'm just throwing in some glass for the guests there. It's one-way glass. I think we're going to put one-way glass in there so that the hyenas aren't freaking out as the guests can come by and see them. I think we're using the one-way glass in a later piece. But now I'm taking a look here at the kind of kennel system that we have set up here. So the hyenas have an entryway and the staff members have an entryway. And I've just used a 2x2 box, because most animals in our certain sizes can use a 2x2 box as a sort of chute to move them through. And I'm using our friend the European Marquee metal beams, a very versatile piece. Same thing with the Conservation Pack's wood planks, 2 very useful pieces if you're going to be building indoor pieces or outside or working on your own fences. I wanted to give some slats at the bottom so the hyenas can be relatively secluded without having too much interactions with the keepers. This is some trial and error. I'm definitely working with this in the future of this video as we're going to watch through here, because we think that the hyena can move into there and the staff can move into one area, but this was definitely something I had to work with, and it is still always a struggle to make sure that the keeper can move in areas that the animals cannot. And especially with here, where we use the gap between them, because we didn't want to make another fence piece entirely. But this is a good way to have the feeders be able to, the keepers be able to move food into the enclosure. So we use a tiny little gate down there, so the keepers could enter their hands and throw down a tray of food if they needed to, or quickly sedate an animal, or introduce a new animal. If, let's say, one of the females are breeding, I'm going to put them in there and keep them separated as well. We're also mimicking the same design over by the entryway there. I wanted to make it very safe for the keepers. Let's say one of the animals got loose, they should be able to exit the building, but still be able to see the animal and maybe tranquilize the animal to make sure that the animal is safe, it's not getting hurt, and neither is the keepers. So you would not want a lawsuit on your hands. No way. And as you can see here, the hyenas are loving it. They're coming in, they're sleeping together as a pack, which is super cool. They all tend to sleep at the same time, which is super nice. Not many animals do that, I've noticed in the zoo, but the hyenas all sleep together, and that's so cool. Now we're placing the enrichment. I think that as far as habitat design, everybody has a different way of doing it. For me, I like to place down the enrichment pieces first. After you do your terrain pieces, put your enrichment items first, because these are the big things that they're going to be bouncing between on their different day, right? So we're placing the rocks down, and just like we say every time, Planet Zoo is 90% rock placement. So I really speed through the rocks, and in fact, we're about to cut into this because you do not want to watch as I place every single rock down. But we're getting the rocks set together, and we're going to be looking at the different foliage and logs next. We're using some dead logs as a way to break up the area for the hyenas. Oh, but this is a good part here. We're noticing that the keepers cannot access the habitat, right? So if we're looking here at the grid, we're making sure that the keepers can move throughout there. What I noticed was that, in fact, we didn't have enough space in their hallway, just not enough. But as soon as I pushed it back, maybe about a foot, in-game foot, it looks like the keeper was doing just fine. So it takes a little bit of finicking, right? It's never perfect right off the bat, but if you really take some time and put it together, you'll get exactly what you want out of it. I get that a lot on when I put out the images of my build. People keep asking, like, how do you do this? I can never spend that much time working in one area. I'm a crazy person, so this is one of those manic things that we all like focus on. We hyper focus on certain aspects of our zoos. Some people like to do more lavish and creative zoos, whereas I like to do an emulation of the idea of realism, right? It's not completely realistic, but it gives you the idea of what a realistic zoo would look like. I think that's the best marriage between the two concepts for me personally. And as you can see here, I'm placing in this kind of mangled fantasy-esque root system from the Twilight Pack into my build here. I think they're fantastic. I love these little roots that we're able to place down. I wish they were flexi-color, honestly, because I think they would make a great addition to the other dead logs that we have. Because I think Frontier, we need more dead wood. We need more logs, we need more barren trees, as we are currently, as the recording is going. I'm looking out my windows and I'm seeing dead trees everywhere. No leaves, no nothing. And we just don't have that feel for many of our trees. So, hey guys, that's a wish list from me to you. So I'm working on the plants here, and I'm cutting between some of the larger parts of it. Using most of the tree tops as bushes. If you're not using that trick, get on that trick, especially with the smaller trees. They make for excellent bushes, especially some of the African trees. Fantastic bush work there. And look at the null fence here. I'm going ahead and blocking it out. People like to make their own fences, but sometimes the in-game fence gets the job done, and there's nothing wrong with that. So I like to make it a big, nice dark green, very conservation friendly, or like gives the idea of a conservation friendly place. Oh, it's looking great. This is the view from the inside of the place, and I think it's really fun for the guests to be able to get a real close view at the animals as they're eating. Alright, now we're finishing up on the interior of the Spotted Hyena. I wanted to make sure that they had just enough room to feel cozy during the winter months, but also give them enough like ventilation for those hot summer months, because the zoo is kind of placed in a very Midwest or New England area in America, and the climate difference between winter and summer is huge. It's about 70 degrees on average on the coolest months in the summer, and this is 70 degrees American, the freedom unit. But it can definitely get up to about 120 on the worst day of the year. And during the coldest day of the year, we're looking at -20, right? And that might happen for an entire week. So I want to make sure the animals are comfortable and they're safe, and then when we're able to let them out in the snow, that they get all their opportunities to do that. I wish there was a better seasonal pattern in the game. If they could do that in an update, which makes it easier for us to have snow. Like if I could just turn on the switch for spring, summer, fall, and winter, that would be fantastic. I think the animals would love that. I think most gamers would love that. I think us players, we would be really into it. Speaking of things we're really into, I love the metal beams. The metal beams from the base game are a great way to hang lights as scaffolding. And these lights, I'm keeping them on 100% of the time, and I'm letting them be a cool red, so that when the animals walk into their enclosures, they are relaxed, they're able to sleep, or if it's in the middle of the day, I want them to be able to come in there and also have a nice chill out time. But the guests won't be able to see them in there, but the keepers, I want them to be able to see what they're doing. If it's completely dark in there, that leaves room for surprises. And I don't think anybody should be surprised when they walk into a building that's full of hyenas. They should know what they're getting themselves into 100% of the time. Alright, we're cutting around here because I'm sure during the live stream we were talking about some sort of foul thing with our guests, and the people who watch the stream. They're fantastic. I love being able to talk to them and engage and talk about different build ideas. But we're just decorating the keeper's huts, and we're going ahead and putting some finishing touches here on the entryways for for the hyenas and for the zookeepers as well. I think we're using these big plaster pieces as a sort of lintel. I think that's the word we use for the top of the door. And just a little lighting there as well. I know we're about to add in a sort of kennel, a door kennel that they could drop if they wanted to. Like, it's obviously not one of the things that the keepers can do in game, but I want to give the sense that if we needed to, we could drop that door and the animals could have a safe night, a safe night's sleep, right? It's more so for the animals' safety and the guest safety and the keeper's safety across the board. But we're also making sure that every time we do anything like that, we're make sure the animals can be able to move around the environment. And same thing with the keepers. We don't want to be blocking them off or get too stuck in the weeds. So if you're about to do a really big build for any of your habitats, continuously check on the moving grid, because you might get so far into your build that you totally forget that, and you find yourself having to remake your entire enclosure because you just weren't able to check on whether or not the animal could actually move. And with the conservation pack, we got a whole lot of interior design, a whole lot of grid pieces or moving around pieces, things like barrels, things like wheelbarrows, shovels, brooms, things like that. Really good stuff. One of the better parts of that pack. I think we earned more in building pieces than we did with animals, personally, in the conservation pack. Oh, and again, we're just doing some fine tuning here with the foliage. Definitely some bush work. Most of these are just trees that are being dropped in as bushes. Some of the African pieces from the Africa path, those trees, they work really well as bushes. So take a look at that. Now we're doing the gutter work. Now gutter work I know is really boring for some people, but for me it's cathartic. And I understand that gutters aren't something that everybody typically thinks of when they're building, but my rule of thumb for gutters is place them down whenever you think that the foundation of the building could be damaged by runoff of rain, or if there's guests. If a guest could be splashed by the runoff of rain, right? What happens in inclement weather? When it rains, where do your guests go? They want to go into a building, but if they're going to enter a building, is there a chance that they get splashed by a lot of rain? If that's the case, put a gutter there. It's easy, it's irrigation, and it's one of those few things that really puts a fine piece on your habitat. Alright, and now we're here at the live part of the video. We're going to take a look at the improvements you made off camera. So this was actually one of the few things that we had done in one of our streams, but we took a look at building a bit of an awning onto the outside of the guest viewing area. So this is just one of those ways, right? We were just talking about how guests need to be covered from the rain at all times. So this is a bit of an awning that we have over the hyenas. It definitely goes around the whole stretch of it, but let's go in through the far door so that we take a better look at the animals. And it's a packed place, so hopefully we can get in, right? Look at them. Oh, they're right in there. They're right in. Hello. Oh, we love it. We love to see it. Look at them go. Oh, it's wonderful, but it's one of the most packed places. We only set the guest limit to about 750 for frame rate issues, right? But there we go. That's a better way of it. So good. So clean. Definitely want to take a second pass at doing some bit of mural work on the bricks. Maybe some information about the hyenas, right? But if we come inside, we see that, oh, someone's got a toy. Someone has a toy here. Hello. What do you have for us? What do you have for us? Go on, go on. We have a nice view here of the dry riverbed. Really pretty, especially this time of year. Oh, and it's getting late. Are they all trying to go to bed? It'd be so cute to see them in bed. Well, there's a few of them here, so let's try to walk in. Yeah, there's one. You sleeping in? Let's see if we can duck in. Now, if you're in Explore mode, a couple things. The Q and the E button let you go up and down and back and right. So you're just able to bounce up a little bit. So if you wanted to be a child or a tall person, you can come in there and see. The keepers can come in and do a little check on the animals. That's what I like to see. That's what I'm talking about. Now, I've never seen a hyena move into the keepers area, right? So that's a good sign. I think that's a great sign that we're doing really well here. But yeah, I'm really impressed. I'm really happy with how the build has gone. I love what we've done here. And I mean, just look at these beautiful underrated animals, honestly. I think it's fantastic what we have here. Super cool. Really love to see it. The guests get a good view of the animals get a good view of the guests. They're feeling pretty cool. Oh, all right. And with that, hey, thanks to everybody for watching. I really appreciate you. Tune in next time. We're probably going to do a speed build video on our last African animal for the zoo. TBD on what that animal may be, but expect it to have hooves. So anyways, thanks everybody. Tune in next time. Like, follow, subscribe for more. Check me out on Twitch, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.